Well, it is a pleasure for me to have Peter Stone, which is one of the most prominent AI researchers at the University of Texas in Austin. He is a computer science professor, and he was or he's still the chair of the department, right, Peter?
Yep, I am.
Okay. And he's also leading the Learning Agents Research Group, which is, if you go and check the webpage, they have a lot of information if you want to learn about it. He's also the director of Texas Robotics, and he was named, you have been chair of the department since 2025. Therefore, you are pretty
Yeah,
brand
just
new
a
in
couple months. Just a couple months. Yeah,
the. And you are also the chief scientist in Sony AI, right?
that's right.
Okay, where he has been working in autonomous agents, multi-agent systems, and reinforced learning. Even more, I have to say that if you want to learn something about reinforced learning, you will find Peter Stone name all over the place. Therefore, that's really cool to have him for us. He has done a lot of applications. He has robots, soccer, autonomous traffic, and human interactive robots. His work has been concentrated mostly in autonomous intelligence systems where they can learn, adapt, and collaborate in complex and dynamic environments. Only to show how relevant is his research, only in 2025, he has 28 publications. In 2024, it's almost around the same number, it's 30 publications. And he has an H index of 116, which is much better than even Nobel Prizes that we know about it. Thank you, Peter, for accepting our invitation, and please be my guest. Take over.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks all for being here. So it's my pleasure to be here. And I spoke with Aldo before. The title and abstract for the talk is as shown here, The Essentials of AI for Life and Society, and it's about an AI literacy course. And I'll spend most of the time talking about that. But Aldo suggested that maybe I spend the first few minutes of the talk introducing my own research in artificial intelligence, and so I'll do that. I'll spend probably 10 or 15 minutes on that, and then I'll come to this main topic on education. I have a lot more details on my research and online, as Aldo said. There's if you go to my teaching page, there's many online talks that will go into a lot more detail than I'll have time for today. But just by way of introduction, I am here at UT Austin, and there's very exciting times here. We were awarded one of the first AI centers, NSF AI centers, or AI institutes, the Institute for Foundations of Machine Learning. It's been going on for 5 years already now, and it was just renewed for a second term. And we use that to form, as the impetus to form a machine learning lab, which is a campus-wide machine learning initiative. I've been involved also in our ethical AI initiative called Good Systems, which is also campus-wide, about sort of thinking about not just what can we do with AI, but what should we do. That involves people from across the humanities, social sciences, of course, computer science and engineering as well. And that was partly motivated by something I've been involved in very deeply, the 100-year study on AI, or AI 100, which has had 2 study panel reports, one in 2016 and 2021, on sort of the state of the field, and another one expected coming up next year. I was the founding director of Texas Robotics. Because I've moved to chair of computer science, I'm no longer the director. Jose Millan has taken over, but we have a beautiful space here on campus. It used to be a gymnasium. It's 55,000 square feet. This was before we moved in. But now this space is all filled with robots. This is only a small part of it. We're going to be hosting the conference on robot learning next November, and so I hope many of you will be able to come and see the space. And then the focus of today's talk, there's a lot of innovative AI education. I'm going to talk about an AI literacy course today, but we've also launched a online master's in artificial intelligence at a price point of $10,000 total. So it's 10 courses, $1,000 a course. That scales to thousands of students. It's been getting students from around the world, and provides a master's level education in artificial intelligence. I'll talk about the undergraduate initiative as the main thing of the talk. Here are the faculty from Texas Robotics across many different departments. But to introduce my own research, the question that I've been focusing on throughout my career, and that sort of unifies everything I do in my lab, is this one. It's: to what degree can autonomous intelligent agents learn in the presence of teammates and or adversaries in real-time dynamic domains? So within AI, I publish in several different sub areas: autonomous agents, multi-agent systems. robotics, and machine learning, especially reinforcement learning. In my lab, we do both what I call bottom-up research, which is sort of new algorithms or theoretical analyses of artificial intelligence. And then we also do more use-inspired or top-down research. And in a one-slide introduction to my lab, it's a lot easier to talk about the motivating application domains. And so that's what I'll do. I've been a leader in the robot soccer community, so RoboCup. This is a video from many years ago of the old Sony Ibos playing soccer with no human in the loop. So fully autonomous sensing, deciding, and acting. When Sony stopped making those robots, we moved to these humanoid robots, nows. So ours in this video are the ones with their hands behind their backs. This was against a team from the University of Bremen several years ago in the finals of the RoboCup competition. And again, it's important to remember that these are fully autonomous. So we program them, but then we watch them play. So here you see a robot going in on a breakaway, and we use machine learning to try to get it to walk and kick, to do the perception. There's multi-agent systems involved in figuring out where they should play, what positions, how do they coordinate. And our goal for RoboCup is by the year 2050 to have a team of humanoid robots that can beat the best World Cup team on a real soccer field. So it's not going to happen with these little robots, with the nows. But there's been huge advances. In fact, the most recent RoboCup was in Brazil just a couple months ago. And at the end of the competition, we did a demonstration of people playing against robots. At first, humanoid robots. Usually we use wheeled robots, but this was the first year that there were some good enough humanoid robots to play against people. These are the booster robots from a team in China. And it wasn't that challenging for the people. So, after a little while, it was we were able to beat them very easily. So after a couple minutes, I changed teams. So here's me with the ball. And so it's me and the robots against people. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but just to see, I tried what I'm about to show you. I left the ball for a robot, and I was very surprised what happened. And I'm going to tell you, this could never have happened like even 4 or 5 months ago. So I left the ball for the robot to see what would happen, and it turned around and immediately kicked the ball into the goal. And I tried to give it a high five afterwards. It didn't know to do that. So there's still some things to improve, but there's progress being made there, and it's a really great inspirational domain for research. A lot of the PhD theses from my lab have been inspired by some of the challenges that come out of RoboCup. In addition to soccer, RoboCup involves general purpose service robots. So if you come to my lab, you'll often see robots like this one wandering around the hallways for long periods of time. And so, there's a aspect of the competition at RoboCup that involves general purpose service robots as well. So here's a short video of what that. Oh, this is actually a longer video than the one I meant to show. Let me see if I can get to the short one. Oops. Okay, yeah, here we go. This should be a short video of the kinds of things our robot does. So here it's acting as a party host, so telling people where to sit. Here it's picking up things, picking up groceries and putting them away on a shelf. Here it's setting a breakfast table and pouring and serving breakfast. These are all tasks that we need that we need this robot to do to participate in the RoboCup at Home competitions. And then, like many people, I've also been inspired a lot, many people in AI, by autonomous driving. I had a car in the DARPA Urban Challenge back in 2007. This is what it looks like. We don't have that car anymore because, as you know, many of the car companies are investing big time in autonomous cars. We have the Waymos all over the place here in Austin. But we've done also a lot of research on looking ahead. Once all the cars or many of the cars on the road are autonomous, would we still need traffic signals and stop signs, or could we have intersections that look more like this one? And so what's going on here is that the cars that are white have called ahead for a reservation at the intersection that guarantees that they won't collide with any of the other cars because it's sort of blocked out in space and time. The ones that are yellow don't have a reservation yet, so they need to stop until they do. But as soon as they turn white, they have a path through the intersection that won't collide with any of the other cars. And this we did more than 20 years ago, this simulation, and it's led to a bunch of research on what happens if some of the cars are driven by people and some by agents. Then obviously it can't be quite as closely packed as this. Also, what happens if you scale up to multiple intersections? How can we use reinforcement learning to reduce, to increase traffic flow, reduce congestion? So there's a lot of research from my lab that's been inspired by this problem, this multi-agent systems problem. And then my group at Sony AI has created an agent called GT Sophie, which is also in the autonomous driving space, but it's also along these lines of trying to get computer programs to do things better than the best people. So I said that's the goal of RoboCup by the year 2050, to have robots that are better than people at soccer. It's happened in chess and Go and Jeopardy. But my team at Sony were the first to do it for a real-time control task. So we created an agent in a simulator, but a very realistic driving simulator called Gran Turismo. And our research appeared on the cover of Nature in 2022. Where I'll show a video where the colored cars are the autonomous, the ones learned with reinforcement learning, and the white ones are driven by humans, which I'll say about in a second. But hopefully this works. In case you're not familiar with it, this is a video of Gran Turismo. The simulator's in the top, and a real car driver, Ken Chan, is in the bottom. And he's driving the same car on the same track in the simulator as he does in the real world. And you see, he follows the lines almost exactly. It takes about 1/10 of a second difference in the simulator than the real world to complete the lap. So it's a very realistic modeling that includes things like slipstream when you're behind another car, that reduces that makes it so you can go faster, tire slip, traction, weather, and it's used by people to practice Formula One race car driving. And so we took some of the people who had really put in their 10,000 hours to become experts in this, to compete in international competitions, and we challenged them to races in 3 different car track combinations, including Cirque du Sarthe, which is where the 24-hour Le Mans happens. Did it first in July of 2021, and the people won. But then in October, we repeated it, and we were able to handily beat them using end-to-end reinforcement learning. So literally starting with random behavior, the agents were just going backwards or in circles, running into walls. After a day of training, they got to the point of being faster than people on an empty track. And after about a week of training, they could do better in these head-to-head racing scenarios. And so here's what it looked like, a skill that the colored cars again are GT Sophie, and the white ones are people. And here's a defensive skill that they learned, so trying to sort of adjust their position so it would be difficult for them to be passed. And then they also learned slipstream passes and crossover passes, and lots of sort of the expert skills that human race car drivers do. And so, you can find a full 1-hour talk on this on my webpage. This was the result of a work of a large team of people. So I think that's where I'll stop in terms of a whirlwind introduction to the kinds of things, the kinds of research I do in my lab. Like I said, there's a full 1-hour talk on my webpage on GT Sophie. There's also several different talks that use this same introduction up to this point, but then move on to other themes like human in the loop learning for robot navigation and robot manipulation. Some talks on multi-agent systems, all that I've given in the past few months. But what I'm going to do for the rest of our time together is shift to this educational initiative, the Essentials of AI for Life and Society, which is an AI literacy course for the university community. And the slides that I'm going to show you today were presented at the EAAI conference or symposium last spring, or sort of winter, but I guess it was in February, at the AAAI conference. So EAAI, the Educational Advances in Artificial Intelligence, happen every year. And this is a paper that's a report on a course that we ran in 2023, the fall of 2023. We've since expanded the course and ran it in the fall of 2024, wrote another paper about it, and actually just 2 days ago, I got the notice that the paper on that course was accepted for presentation at EAAI this coming February. So I'll be creating an updated slide deck on that course. But in this talk, I'm going to talk about that first version of the course, and then I'll show the website at the end. I'll show the website for the second version of the course, which is a much expanded offering, and that's where all the resources are available online. So diving in, the impetus for this was, obviously the world has changed around December of 2022. When ChatGPT went viral, and some of the questions shown on this slide were being asked by everybody, and in many ways still being asked. But it really took the world by storm. And many of us in AI had known about large language models and GPT models that had been around for a few years. But this notion of getting to the point where the whole world could use them, 100 million users within the span of a month or two, we all are familiar. We all lived through this, and in many ways are still living through this. So actually, what happened was my dean in I think about June, or maybe May or June of 2023, came up to me and said, "Peter, can we stand up? Can you help me create an AI course for the whole campus? And I'd like to have it run starting this coming fall, like literally 3 months from when he asked that question." I said, "Well, what kind of resources are you going to provide?" We'll see what we can do. And so we went into sort of sprint mode, and over the course of that summer, conceived and created, with the help of some staff from the College of Natural Sciences, created a course. The problem that we were trying to solve is, there existed lots of technical papers and research papers, but they weren't accessible to a broad audience. There were news articles that were focused on recent events, but not written by AI experts, blog posts with a narrow focus. There were a lot of AI courses at universities, including our own, but they required a computer science background. What was missing, and what the dean was asking me to try to help create, was an in-depth but broadly accessible resource on artificial intelligence, covering the full breadth of AI techniques and also discussing the socio-technical factors, the societal impacts of artificial intelligence. And so our objectives that we hit on quite quickly for the curriculum was essentially an AI literacy course. And so we wanted the course to say, what is AI, not beyond ChatGPT, beyond language models, that the broad overview of the wide range of techniques that comprise artificial intelligence, not just the most recent ones, that would correct any common myths or misconceptions of what AI is that were prevalent because of science fiction and the popular press, and include sort of enrichment materials for further reading. So and then answer some of these other questions that are shown here: the societal implications, the application areas, the challenges and opportunities. The idea was that if a person took only this one course on AI, it would sort of, in their life, that it would be something that would create a ground level of literacy for them, the ability to go with more critical lens to news stories and understand technical developments, or it could serve as a jumping off point for somebody who wanted to go more in depth and take later courses in artificial intelligence. And so we conceived this course called The Essentials of AI for Life and Society. And then about a month before the semester started, we did sort of a blitz advertising campaign with sort of flyers like this one. Because we were putting it together very quickly, we did this first version as just a 1 credit hour course. So it was 1 hour a week. The expanded version, which I'll talk about from fall of 2024, is a full 3 credit hour course. But the idea was that, we wanted to make sure that it was clear to people that you didn't need any technical knowledge ahead of time. And we opened this up to not only all undergrads, but also graduate students, faculty, and staff. And so, the syllabus was shown here that it would, or that the high level. This is sort of in line with that previous slide I showed, that it would teach people about AI technologies and also the ethical and societal implications of AI. So and the bullet points of what we expected people to learn are matched with the previous slide. And so one slide that came up in every one of the lectures, and we sort of asked it was a series of guest lectures that we curated the topics. We asked everybody to sort of tie back to this definition of artificial intelligence, which comes from the AI 100 studies, the one, I think it's in the first 100-year study on artificial intelligence from 2016. There's many definitions of artificial intelligence. There's no one that's generally accepted, but the one we used throughout this course was the one shown here, that AI is a science and a set of computational technologies that are inspired by, but typically operate quite differently from, the ways people use their nervous systems and bodies to sense, learn, reason, and take action. And the things that we tried to hammer home over and over again throughout the semester was that AI is not one thing. It's more than just deep learning. It includes a collection of algorithms and techniques: reinforcement learning, natural language processing, vision, planning, symbolic reasoning, all the ones shown here. And then we also said there's sort of another definition of artificial intelligence that's sort of it's more tongue-in-cheek, but that has also been used many times, which is that artificial intelligence is the science of trying to get computers to do the things they can't do yet. And that, once it works, it's engineering. And this is sort of, has been true throughout the history of AI, that, there's many things that were considered artificial intelligence when I was a graduate student in the mid-1990s, early 1990s. Things like, the voice recognition that it takes to get a computer to understand the digits of your credit card when you're talking on the phone. People were, that was the cutting edge of artificial intelligence at the time, using hidden Markov models. And now everybody just sort of expects that to work. When you call your credit card company, you speak the digits into the phone and it understands. And nobody thinks of that as AI anymore. That's just, an engineered application. And even going back further, a wave of artificial intelligence in the 1980s was expert systems. And now nobody really considered, which are essentially if-then rules on what an AI system should, what a computer program should do. And expert systems are everywhere. They're in your dishwasher, they're in your microwave. They determine how hot the water should get, or when the microwave should stop cooking if you tell it that there's a potato inside or something like that. But very few people consider that artificial intelligence anymore. And so we expect that today's artificial intelligence will go that way as well. That the kids growing up with large language models and ChatGPT, who've had it since they were grade school students, 20 years from now, they won't consider that AI. That they'll say, "Oh, I've always had that. That's just large language models." Artificial intelligence is always getting computers to do the things they can't do yet. And we so also tried to emphasize that this has been sort of there's always a next frontier of AI. It's not a fixed set of applications or techniques. So the structure of the course that first year, back in 2023, was, like I said, it was sort of a lightweight 1 credit hour course, but it had students read a set of provided materials, some sort of articles that we suspected or tried to make very accessible to a broad audience. And then we did a live streamed lecture on the topic for about 30 to 40 minutes, followed by about 10 to 20 minutes of Q&A. And because we wanted this to scale up, we did it in a live production studio. Our College of Liberal Arts has it looks very much like a television, like news broadcast studio, where you can have like a studio audience. There's room for about 25 people, and then a set of cameras and a lectern and a desk with a nice background, and then it would be live streamed, and the students were required to be there in real time, and then they could in a chat ask their questions, and we would do a Q&A, and so we would answer these in-lecture questions, and the students were sort of graded or checked that they were there online at times. And then after each one, they had to write a reflection on the topic. And so this was, like I said, fairly lightweight, but it worked well. The topics that we curated, and again, this was in this first year, a series of guest lectures, are shown here. There was first an introduction that I gave. And then one of my co-instructors, Joydeep Biswas, who's actually running the course again this semester, gave one on planning and search. We talked about probabilistic modeling, 2 weeks on machine learning, computer vision, intelligent robots, natural language processing. And that was sort of the technical, sort of part of the course. The first, a little bit more than a half, sort of like two-thirds or so. And then the third co-instructor of the course, Don Fussell, did a philosophical foundations in relation to the broader field of computing. And that's where we read some of Turing's papers and things like that. So talking about how and why artificial intelligence is grounded in computer science. So that was sort of the first two-thirds on sort of the computer science aspects of it. And then the last few lectures were on the societal implications, where we had people from some other disciplines talking about AI and mis or disinformation, bias and fairness, impacts on the workplace, and then AI alignment and existential threats. And so the students sort of heard from people who are working on each of these topics in their own research. And then we ended with a current and future directions lecture. The enrollment demographics that we got for that first year, we got a lot of staff, a lot of faculty, some undergraduate students who were taking it for credit, and then some postdocs and graduate students. A total of 700, more than 750 participants, coming from a lot of different disciplines across campus. So this is showing the undergraduates, graduates, postdocs, faculty, staff, and what's the T? I'm not sure about the T. Oh, total. T is the total. From the various different units on campus. And so you see that there were people coming from all different areas. And then we also did, as a part of this paper, we took a lot of survey both before and after the course. So I think the orange is before and the blue is after. Or no, what is the orange and the blue here? Sorry, we did it before and after as well. But these might be the different demographics. But how much of the course did you engage in? How interesting was it? How useful was it to you, or easy or difficult? There are a bunch of different questions, and all the details are there in the paper. And then we also did this retrospective analysis where we asked the same questions both before and after the course. Things like, can you define artificial intelligence? Do you have the necessary vocabulary? And we see on all of these types of questions, people from before the course to after the course, there was a big jump in terms of their how much they agreed with these statements. And so we considered this as a pretty good success. It wasn't perfect though. The first offering was we had the students engage in the full the broad range. We included all of the different people. We learned that it's very hard to sort of hit all of those demographics and backgrounds. But I think we did a good job of that. Nonetheless, in the next offering, we decided to focus down only on undergrads, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. We did find that the course participants appreciated the variety of speakers and the connection to real world examples. But probably the biggest negative feedback was that we missed the mark a little bit in terms of the readings. Some of them were a little bit too technical or too difficult for the non-technical audience. And so that did lead us, but it was successful enough that the college decided to invest in the resources, the staff support, and the TAs to turn this into a full 3 credit hour course that would be open to all undergraduate students. That we offered in last fall for the first time with me as the instructor. It's being offered for the second time now with Joydeep Biswas as the instructor. And so I'm going to now transition to sort of showing you that just by showing you the webpage. So because all of these materials are fully available. I will say, if you go to my page and you find this course, you can find a link to the paper that I just presented to you. So the publication at the symposium for EAI is here and available. So it has if you go to if you click on it and click on the PDF, it will have all the survey details that I just talked about and explain right. And so here answers the question I had before. The blue was the students and the orange was the auditors on that slide. 10:35 a.m. And so you can get that from the webpage, and you can also find the webpage of the 1 credit hour course if you click on it, and it has all of the lecture recordings. But I would actually advise not going to those lecture recordings, because we've now built this CS 309, which is this 3-credit-hour course. It's become now a part of the core curriculum, and it has the full description. It has the syllabus, which will look familiar because it's very similar to the previous one, and it has many of the same topics as before, but now it's sort of goes into more detail. It has all the same topics. It's reordered a little bit from some of the lessons learned from the previous year. So we put an AI and society module up right at the beginning that sort of set the stage to have the ethics aspect of it be a component of every week rather than only at the end of the class. But then we did planning and search, robotics, probabilistic modeling, computer vision, machine learning again for twice, natural language and processing, and then many of these other same topics as before. So that's all there. The sort of richest resource to this course sort of ran in a different way than the 1-credit-hour one. It had a course both Tuesday, or it had sort of an asynchronous aspect on Tuesdays and a synchronous aspect on Thursdays. So basically, we told everybody every week, we gave them some things they needed to do ahead of time that they had to do by Tuesday night. So that's explained here. That would include readings, watching the recorded videos from the year before that we now chopped up into sort of bite-sized pieces, do written reflections. All of that happened by Tuesday night. And then my TAs would go through and sort of pull out all of the common questions and themes from those reflections. And I would create a live session on Thursday that everybody would have to attend in real time, that would address many of those themes and questions that they had. And I'll show some of that and show some examples of that. And I think that the way the live sessions work was actually one of the most innovative aspects of the class. So I'll tell you something about that. But first, to show you the pre-class modules, every week it would include a reading, possibly some videos. So in the first week, it was there was an op-ed that from me, and also some podcasts, and then some ethics videos, and then they would have to there's a prompt that they had to reflect on something from the readings. Like in this case, imagine you're the CEO of a company developing the tool that you've chosen. Reflect on the risks and benefits of this tool. What would be your top ethical priorities? So there was a different prompt every week. The videos would be sort of short ones. So I can jump ahead to one. I did the module on robotics. So there were, and by the way, we adjusted the levels of the readings and got much better feedback. So now the readings that we have here, people did say were very accessible. So the videos would be curated. So you can click on these and get to them. And so they were well produced by that studio in Leitz. So don't have the volume here, but they were sort of the person talking with the slides in a nicely produced way. They were broken up into these sort of small chunks. So mostly 5 to 10 minutes. And then there'd be a prompt that had to do with it. So all of this, like I say, it's all there, all of these materials, and I think it would be really easy to build a class from this. You could use the same readings, you could use the same videos, you could use the same prompts. And again, the students had to go through this by Tuesday of the corresponding week, by Tuesday night. And then based on and for the readings, we used Perusall. So all of the students were required to make comments on the readings. So they could click on them. And then, here we just have the readings themselves, but they would be taken into Perusall, and they could be, if you're familiar with the tool, they were required to highlight something, put a comment, respond to each other's comments. And they were graded based on sort of how active they were on Perusall. And then, that would also be used as input for the TAs to help me build the live class sessions. So then the live class sessions would be, there would be slides, and then we'd have the lecture recording. So we have all the slides from that class. So let me show you I'll show you the one that I did for the robotics session again. let's see, I'm just opening them as I go, so hopefully this won't take very long. But yeah, so the slides would show something like, that would show that defining artificial intelligence slide, and that I showed you before. That would be there in pretty much every lecture. And then, we'd give some context. We'd show a word cloud of all of the students' responses from perusal. And then there'd be some comments that were pulled out from the students. And it was broadcast from a live studio where there would be 25 students there live with me, and everybody else would be watching a live stream. So it'd be several hundred students watching the live stream. And it'd be a different 25 students in class every time. So everybody had to come live to the class once in the semester. I would call out some of the most interesting student comments from the responses, and then I'd cover sort of things people asked, and then we'd occasionally ask polls. So everybody online would answer questions, and then we would have some chats. So I'd say, is this an area of robots for elder care? I pulled out some quotes from the students, and then I said, is this an area that should be pursued? And then told the students to discuss it. And what happened in the discussion was that every student who was in the class was in a chat with 10 or 12 students, or some number of students who were watching it on the live stream, and each in a different chat room. So each chat room would have about 10 to 12 students. One of the students would be live in the studio with me. The others would be chatting for 3 or 5 minutes. And then at the end of the chat, I would ask the students in the class to reflect the discussion that they had during the chat with their students. And I would say of all the courses I've ever taught, this is the most participatory, and we got comments like this at the end, the most participatory and equally participatory it's ever been, because they were graded by how active they were in these chat sessions. Everybody felt like they had a voice in these chats. It wasn't just the talkative people, and everybody was live in class at least once, and then had to talk and reflect their what happened in their chat room. And so people said, usually in classes I don't speak up, I'm sort of shy, but this made it so that I had my opportunity, I needed to, and so every class session had 3 chat topics to chat about, like this one. So I can't remember what the others were in robots. Here was another poll that I did, but then I said, should autonomous lethal weapons be banned? And then had them do a discussion for 3 to 5 minutes, and then different people in the class would report back from their chat room. And then I'd say what happens in the next class. Oh, I was advertising the election there. And so that would happen in the those were the slides, and I think there is we also have the edited lecture recordings here. So what those looked like, again, you can see they're nicely curated. It's like an hour long, or almost 75 minutes long, and it would have me going through those slides, and you can I guess this is just showing you that same thing. It's me going through the slides and then having the pausing for the discussions and things like that. So again, all of these slides and materials are there. These ones I wouldn't copy necessarily, because they are based on the comments from the actual students in the class. And so they, I think it's important, and that's, so Joydeep is rerunning it this semester and using, you could use some of the material from the slides, but I'd want to add in the material so the students know that we are looking at their, the comments that they've made. They're being, the interesting ones are being highlighted. They feel like it's important that they're there in person, or in real time, and that we did have ways of grading and checking that they were there in real time. And then the final aspect of the course, and then I'll pause for questions, is we had a set of assignments, one on introduction to algorithms, one on planning and search, probabilistic reasoning, machine learning, and generative AI. We emphasized that they were all built so that you didn't need any programming ability going in. But but they would introduce you to machine learning, so or to each of these topics. So all of these are there. So we basically had people use a tool to train a machine learning classifier by finding pictures of cats and dogs and seeing how well it does if you change the amount of training data that's in, and see what the generalization gap is. And so they're using a tool to train things. And I think we also asked them to find pictures of cups and mugs by themselves, and then train a tool to train the tool to recognize cups and mugs, and to sort of upload their pictures and the results that they found, and to be able to be conversant about false positive rates and false negative rates, as shown here, and sort of how to evaluate these kinds of things. And so there's detailed assignments which can be used. The generative AI one, of course, is one that would had them use large language models and try to get them to say things that were true, things that were false, get them to learn how they work a little bit, again, with no programming experience. So all of these details are here and can be used and built upon. The one on probabilistic reasoning taught about particle filters through mobile robot localization. But again, they're not programming it. They're just sort of watching what happens if you change the number of particles, that change the number, and how accurate the robot, your emphasis the robot would be. They're being told to use a simulator and then upload a picture showing that they've done what they've done. So that's all there. And then finally, they were given an ethics project at the end, where it's a 3 to 5 page investigative report on some AI-based technology of their choice, and that had to cite some of the readings or some other research papers, and was very explicit about whether they should use, that they shouldn't they shouldn't use ChatGPT or Gemini as the technology. They should find it, AI's use in grocery stores or something like that. And then there was it was hundreds of students, so we created a very a rubric that would make it easy to grade for the TAs and the course staff, that has the whole rubric here. So that was that was the course, and like I said, I think we've gone to great pains to make everything here available, usable. I'd love to have people to build courses off of this. If they do, I'll be happy to link those courses back to this webpage. Like I said, we wrote a paper about this course that also has demographic survey data and things like that, like the 1 credit hour version. That paper was just accepted, so it'll be presented in Singapore at EAI in January. And I'll link that to this page as well. I'll be happy to share a draft if anybody wants to see it. We're just finalizing it right now. But yeah, I think it is running. It is part of our university core curriculum now. And I'd be delighted, like I said, if people are able to build from this. So that's basically what I wanted to say. This is a deep dive on this course that we created, this Essentials of AI for Life and Society. Not just my own work. Like I said, the faculty involved in that first offering were Joydeep Biswas, Don Fasel, and myself. And then with a lot of support from College of Natural Sciences, from Kristen Patterson, Kristen Procco, and Leah Sabatini. And we had a TA, graduate student TA, Zifan Xu. And then in the first, the course from last fall, I was the sole instructor, but we also had a large number of TAs and staff. Let me pause there, and I see there's a bunch of questions. So happy to answer anything.
Peter, thank you. That was very enlightening. That was enjoyable, and that was really, really cool. Min, do you want to start the round of questions?
Yes, thank you. I just first of all want to echo everything you said. This is really cool, really enjoyable. I have 2 quick questions. One on the first part, another one on the second part. The first one is on your RoboCup. When you switched the team, were you humans wearing any kind of transmitter or something so that the robot, your teammate, actually can recognize you as teammate and your buddy as the opponent?
Yeah, no. when the robots play, they have it's usually the red team against the blue team. They can recognize each other. In this video, which I showed, the robots were completely unaware of me. So they as far as they knew, they couldn't. They had no awareness of the people in or the ball. And so yeah, that was, of course they'll do better if we do find a way to have them recognize the people. But in that particular video, they were aware of each other, but as far as they knew, they were playing on an empty field they couldn't recognize the opponents.
So, but it also just shows that the robot can make sound decisions without anticipation, just react to the ball, just kick it.
That's all it did. That's right.
That's
there was
great.
no
That's
anticipation
great.
there.
That's great.
Yep.
So the question about the second part is from your first 1 credit course, looks like the response was overwhelming from the staff and the faculty side. So when you move to the 3 credit course, I wonder what was the reason to drop that, and at this point whether you have something parallel for the large group of staff and faculty.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reason that we focused on the undergrad, on undergrads is because it was going to just be too daunting to try to we're working on assignments and the project and having these the perusal comments on the readings and the responses to both have a track where there's really serious grading and a track that's more like auditing. It was going to be just balancing too many things all at once. But I think actually in the end, what we end up with here is something that faculty and staff can do. And I've pointed this out to many people. I think faculty, staff, or general public, basically anybody starting from, I think, upper high school education level, can now go through these pre-class modules and go through the course on their own. And so there's actually, what we've ended up with here is a resource that anybody can use. The undergrad, the thing that's unique for the undergrads is that we're tracking attendance and grading and taking into account the feedback they give in the live class sessions. But if somebody just wants to move through the content, I think it's equally accessible and to the faculty and staff. They can either go to this version or they can just watch all the lectures from the 1 credit hour version. So actually, what we have from the 1 credit hour version, if you go to that webpage, the lecture recordings is basically just a YouTube stream. And so, somebody, if they don't want to do all the readings and things like that, they can just go to this YouTube channel and watch the very same lectures that we showed in that first 1 credit hour course. And so I think we have plenty of resources still for the faculty and staff who would want to go through the material. But in terms of just managing the course and grading the students and taking into account their participation and having them there in real time, we decided to focus on just that one demographic.
Thank you. Just one more comment based on your response to your RoboCup thing. You said earlier when you human team beat the robot team easily, but you just told us you guys didn't wear transmitters, so that was an unfair game.
I see. That's true.
Robot might do better. So.
Maybe so. Yeah, and we've played against robots, the wheeled robots. This is the first time we played against legged robots, but I've played against the wheeled robots, and you can find videos online every year since 2007. And every year it gets a little bit harder, but that's also because we're getting older, so we'll see.
Thank you, Peter. Let me pass to Don because he has to run for class. Don, please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I put it in a chat, but I have to leave, so I may not be able to stay for the whole answer. The first question is, was this a full semester course?
Yes.
The 3 credit one. And then the second part was, can you speak to the resources that that the university put toward creating the first version and then the 3 credit course?
Yeah. So, basically, yeah, it was a full semester course. Both of them were 14 weeks. You can see that on the syllabus. The course, basically the resources they gave, they had a project manager, Leah Sabatini, who just sort of helped us get the lecturers in place and scheduled. Kristen Patterson and Kristen Procco were from the college, helped sort of with the pedagogical materials and setting up perusal and conceiving what would be good for the undergrads, and sort of we're part of helping the management. And then Andrea Pittard leads the studio, the television studio, and helped with all of the recordings and the chat rooms and things like that. So those were sort of people who helped make it painless, that I would focused on the content, the syllabus, they reached out to all the faculty who were going to do the lecturing and scheduled them and all that, and put all this stuff on the webpage. And then these are we had 2 graduate TAs, and these are all undergraduate graders or undergraduate course assistants who helped get all the materials on Tuesday night so that they could provide them for me by Wednesday afternoon. Who would go through the students' responses and perusal and populate a document on the things they suggested that I would provide in class. So both the undergraduates and the graduate TAs provided that. So this was all paid positions from the college. These were sort of part of their workloads, I think. Although there was a little became part of their their job description, and then the undergrad and grad TAs. And it was the same people who helped us with the 1 credit hour version and the 3 credit hour version, and one of the TAs was the same. So yeah, putting this course together on this time frame and at this level required definitely resources from the dean. It was his idea to do this course, and he supported it. And we tried to build it. They also helped to build it in a way that would scale, and so that we could handle any number of students that could come. So the resources were essential to make it happen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Brian, please.
Hey there, thanks, Peter. That was a phenomenal talk. So I'm faculty in the School of Medicine here at WVU, and I noticed that you had some people in the first course that took it, but there wasn't a lot of content. Is that basically because the geographics of your all's medical school being in Austin and all that stuff, or in Houston, and the way that it works there in Texas, or did you guys just not have anybody that was interested in lecturing, or just curious?
The medical school. So the medical school is now on campus. We actually
It's there now. Okay.
Yeah. So it opened several years ago. We have Del Med. It's right adjacent to campus. I think it's just more that we advertised a month before the course, and I think
Sure.
that they were sort of patchy where the lessons got out there too, or where the message got out there. I don't know. It might have been that they saw it and just didn't have time or weren't interested, or it might have been that they just we didn't get the message out to them properly. I don't know.
Yep, fair enough. Thank you. And for our group here, I think we should definitely do this, and I'd be super happy to help out from the medicine side of things.
Yeah, and we do have lots of ties now between computer science and Del Med. In fact, I'm talking with I have a conversation with the dean of Del Med this afternoon, dean of our medical school, because we're doing a lot of joint hiring and a lot of cross between robotics and medicine, and between artificial intelligence and machine learning and medicine. We have a lot of initiatives, and so just in this, the actual people from the demographics, I don't think should be taken as an indication of the interest or depth of the connections between AI and the medicine here.
Thank you, Peter. Vito.
Hey, Peter, thanks. This is awesome. I just had a question about, you said it was now core curriculum.
Yes.
So can you what exactly does that mean here? Is this every undergrad student at UT takes this, or is it like an option within like a?
So this is a time-shifting question right now, because we have a new provost and a president who are going to completely overhaul our core, and there's a core curriculum committee, and things are changing. But up until this year, there has been a core requirement that every student to graduate has to take a technology course of some kind, and this is now one of those options. So it's not that you have to take this course, but you can get core credit for taking this course. Now, I designed this course in such a way that if our revamped core curriculum is going to require an AI course of all of our students, which very well might happen, I don't know, then this course could be that course. And so, after we have, our provost just announced a core curriculum committee. It's there's been some controversy about the makeup of that you can see online, and this is all about this sort of moment of that we're in right now in academia, of sort of what's the future of academia in this country. But we are going to be revamping the core. There's been strong signals that they want computer science or AI to play some role in it. There's also strong signals that it's going to shrink so that there will be fewer courses, which might mean we could get to it could be that every student has to take this course, or this and a small other set of courses. And so I'm looking ahead. I've designed this course that this could be that, and that's part of the reason we do it in this asynchronous way, where there's this studio audience and live stream, because that means we could actually handle thousands of students in this class at any one time. The fall offering that I taught had actually only, I think, 225 students in it, so we could have done it in the lecture hall. But because of the way it's structured, we could handle, we could, without any change to it, we could handle 2,000 or 3,000 or even 10,000 students, as long as we had enough TAs.
Yeah, it's a very cool way to structure the course. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Well, any other question?
Yeah. Hey, sorry, I have one more.
Sure.
Did you guys use LLMs or any AI to help grade the stuff, or was it all human graded?
Not to grade, but to pull out the comments from perusal and from their responses. We actually, I insisted that the undergrads and the grad students do that manually, but then one of the grad students also gave me an LLM version of it. And I would sometimes, I would use those to pull out the themes and the questions. To be honest, I found the ones created by the people much more useful than the ones created by the LLM. But I would usually, pull out the quotes and the questions and the polls from the ones that the students curated first, and then I'd scan through the LLM one to see if there were any extra ones there that I might use. But they were usually less interesting. So, but that could get better, and it could have been because the prompts weren't great. But yeah, when we had 225 students commenting on perusal and writing responses, that was an obvious thing to do. And I think it's possible that could have saved work. We could have gotten by with less staff if we needed to. But I was very glad to have the students using their judgment as to what should be the themes that I would cover in Thursdays.
Thank you, Peter. Amy.
Hi. Yeah. So I noticed that how AI affects human learning wasn't on there, but like for my students, that's like really top of mind. They're using it all the time, whether it's permitted or not. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you decided not to include for some reason, or if you're going to add it, or what your thoughts are.
That came up in some of the themes. I think, not surprisingly, the students brought that up in their reactions to the readings. So I think on several of them, if you look through the lecture slides, it wasn't a topic, full week topic on the syllabus. But if you look through the lecture slides, there were several comments on that theme. And I think at least one or two of the sort of 3 to 5 minute discussions were on that. That did come up. So, the way the course is structured, there's flexibility to sort of follow what people are interested in. And, that is certainly was on their minds. And so it definitely came up. It just wasn't the topic of, and it could have been a, one of the sessions on societal implications at the end. We did misinformation and workplace. I think it came up, it probably came up pretty strongly in the week on the effects on the workplace. But I think if I remember correctly, it was sort of sprinkled throughout the semester as something that came up.
Thank you, Peter. We don't want to take more of your time, and I really appreciate your kindness and the beautiful talk that you gave to us. That gave us a lot of opportunities and a lot of discussion. Thank you so much. If you have the chance to share the draft with us, I will be happy to share that with the group. And again, thank you, Paul. Really, that was really cool.
Great. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks all for being here.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day then. Bye.